Hey guys, welcome to the channel. This is my E36 M3 that I got a few months ago. I haven't even done a reveal video on it yet or anything, going through the car, but I wanted to get straight to this because I've partnered up with Race German, who's offering MTS Technik coilovers at a great price point, and I heard some great things about them, specifically from the real swiper on Instagram. His name's Josh. He had some great things to say about them. So I'm going to give you my thoughts, my honest thoughts on it. I'm a pretty particular person, so this video is going to be pretty detailed, or as detailed for me. It's going to be long, lengthy, and I'll really try to walk you through what you can expect if you were to pick up these coilovers and throw them on your car. I threw these on 2 days ago. I've driven the car a lot just to get my thoughts on them. The front needs to come down a tiny bit, the rear needs to come up a tiny bit, but I'm changing the wheels. I'm changing, it's going to paint actually, to touch up a few things. So I'm gonna wait to do that. I'm also throwing on spacers, so I'm gonna do that all at once, but the ride height is roughly where I want it. And so, yeah, if you want my condensed thoughts, I'll type up a review so you can just read that, the 1 minute read, the 1 minute version, but this will be long and lengthy. So yeah, I'm gonna get this out on the road and start talking and tell you about them. Okay, so just to give you an idea here as we start up and head out of what I'm used to, I'm coming from Bilstein and HROE Sport Springs. So Bilstein shocks and HROE Sport Springs, which is a moderate drop. And their really main focus, HR wanted them to be 100% dailyable, just a slight drop, slight added stiffness from the stock setup. So that's kind of what I'm coming from, and also I got these gloves on because I was dealing with the wheels and adjusting things. So I'm gonna actually take these off. See, that's what I'm coming from. Before I had the HR Sport Springs, a lot more stiff. Another piece of information that you should know is that I'm in Nashville, Tennessee. I'm in the city, so we've got rough roads here. But at the same time, just 10-15 minutes outside of the city, we have some beautiful country roads, winding back roads that are really smooth outside of Davidson County. So kind of the best of both worlds in terms of a test for suspension. So just taking off outside of my house here, I am on the MTS Technik street coilover setup. They have the race, they have the comfort, they have a few different versions which are all sprung and valved a little bit differently to my knowledge. And just taking off here from my house, it's like I forget that the car is on coilovers, which is exactly what I want for a street setup. My goal with this was to be able to daily it, to drive it on the street, to drive it for hours on the highway and not be in pain or just want to get out of the car. And so for that, this is literally, that's perfect. I forget that the car's on coilovers. It is smooth. There's no drama. Overall, this is the least dramatic coilover I've ever been in. And I don't mean that in it's numb and boring way. I do not mean that at all, but I'll get into that. So no drama, very comfortable, very smooth, handles bumps very well. So that was like a pretty sizable bump right there that I'm very accustomed to. I go over it almost every day. And in the HROE and Bilstein setup, it felt just about the same. And that was a very comfortable, that's the most comfortable E36 besides the stock setup that I've been in. And so that really speaks volumes to how good of a job these guys did with this. So very comfortable, very low drama. And the only thing over really rough roads and over really unsettling bumps, the car, I seem to notice now that there's a little bit of maybe 10-15% less recovery. Like the speed of recovery is not as quick as the Bilsteins, and I think that's a monotube to twin tube difference right there. That's where the monotubes are going to be better. They're from my limited suspension knowledge, they're going to recover a bit quicker and remain a bit more composed. but in terms of performance, which I'll get to more when we hit these back roads, that's really the only downside, and I do notice it the most just on really rough roads. You'll feel the car just kind of wiggle a little bit more than before, but it's a very minor difference. This is not a big difference at all. This is me nitpicking. So I'm just continuing here towards these back roads a little bit out of town. And like I said, like you can see, I'm not bouncing around everywhere. These are not bouncy at all. And yet at the same time, like I'm praising the comfort a lot. I also am getting more steering feel than I was before on the HROE Sport springs. Not as much as the sports springs or race. You're gonna get a lot more through that, but the harshness goes up like crazy. These are not harsh at all. I've yet to hit a bump where I was like, that was harsh. Yet to hit a bump where I felt that. Also, guys, I am on the camber plates that they provide as well. Just so you know that, and they're not they don't have poly in them or anything like that. They're just the camber, a solid, whatever it's called, a spherical bushing in those. So if you wanted to even get more compliant, you can go with something like the ground control. I think they have a Comfort or something like that that has a bushing in there to reduce NVH. Speaking of NVH, nothing. There's no added NVH from the Bilstein HR Sport spring combo. I've driven stock E36s. This feels, in NVH wise, it feels about the same. Okay, we are now on some more spirited roads, and so wow. Okay, so one thing I noticed, the car feels a lot more capable. It feels like I'm running into some traffic, but it feels like I'm really not close to the limits of this car, where before I felt, especially on like after the car settles, once you turn it, when it kind of settles in, it feels just absolutely planted, and it feels like I'm not even close to the limit. Before, it felt like once it settled, it was like, all right, you're getting pretty close, and now it feels like I really have to do something really crazy to get to the limit of this car's abilities in the corner. It feels awesome. A lot of confidence going into turns. Again, very composed, very settled. It doesn't feel like dramatic or bumpy or anything like that. You heard a big bump before, probably, through my mic. That is the first time I've heard something like that. I think it was because I was on full throttle and there was a big bump up where almost the car kind of jumped up. I think that would kind of happen from any stiff suspension, like super, a lot more stiff suspension, but yeah, that was kind of a first for that. So I'm just going to keep driving here. We got some traffic, but I'll have a turn up here soon. In terms of steering response, that definitely improved too. The car feels like I turn the wheel now and it's responding quicker. Yeah, and body roll has definitely decreased as well. This car does have upgraded sway bars, so that helped, but even from just the suspension change, I can definitely notice a difference. One thing that I'm curious about here is mid-corner bumps, which I should have some right here. Okay, so it felt like that bump upset it a little bit more than previously, if I'm being totally honest. And I think, again, that's a twin tube versus mono tube thing, not so much an MTS thing. And just with monotube coilovers, you're paying, probably at least $1,000 more, and you're doing it for that, on track. When the seconds really matter, that's something that you're going to really care about. That wasn't scary at all. I went into that really quickly, but I definitely do notice that I've maybe lost maybe 15% composure through a bump like that. So far, my feeling is that the positives far outweigh the negatives. I'm totally happy to gain ride height adjustability, gain comfort, gain performance in like 90% of situations. over losing performance in maybe those very rare occasions of a lot of bumps mid-corner or just a lot of bumps in general. Used to the limits being so much higher. Wow. Wow. The car just feels so much faster. Alrighty guys, hope you enjoyed that. That was driving on the MTS Technik street coilover with camber plates. No alignment. This is pretty fresh. Did this 2 nights ago. They feel fantastic. Very composed, very comfortable. For the price, I'm just ecstatic about these. So, if you guys enjoyed, see you guys for the next one. Hey guys, just wanted to summarize my overall thoughts on the coilovers. Again, I have the street version. Having no adjustability for a lot of people is a scary thing, but I can honestly say that after riding around in this car all over all types of pavement, I would not change them at all. If you gave me the ability to adjust the dampening and whatever else, I probably would mess it up more than I would do good. This feels perfect. I think the spring quality on these, they're provided by Ibach springs, is great, and I'm starting to think that maybe that's why I don't like BCs very much, because they have, unless you get the Swift upgrade, they come with cheaper springs, and I think that's what really, as I'm kind of just gathering my thoughts here, that's a little bit of a theory, but it feels like that's what really does that option poorly. It feels like that's what maybe is the issue that I have with BCs. They ride a lot more mushy on softer settings. They're vague, they're divey, and these don't have that at all. These are planted, they're firm. The ride quality is great. If I paid double the price for these, I would still be really happy. There is a discount code provided by Race German. Thank you for that, Race German. That'll be in the description below, so you can go ahead and use that if you're going to purchase these coilovers. I highly recommend it. I'm not sure of another better bang for buck option. Race German is the only one who distributes these. These are originally in Europe, and originally only distributed in Europe. So really cool that we get those here now. And guys, I tried to, hopefully you kind of can tell that I'm trying to give my honest thoughts here. You know, I want to be totally transparent with what I like and dislike about them. Oh, also, speaking of which, if you are installing these yourselves, it's not too hard, but thread the coilovers beforehand. They will go real low. So I mean, I'm an OEM Plus guy, so for me, I had a midway and it was too low. So just do that before you get on the car, because the threads are really tiny. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. Hopefully that gave you a better idea of what it's like to live with these coilovers. So yeah, I will see you guys for the next one. Maybe I will do a reveal video on the car, which is kind of funny that I'm doing this first, but I can walk you guys the whole car and show you the problems and the upgrades and what the plans are for the future. So I'll catch you guys for the next one.